Hi guys, welcome to this series of videos. I will be teaching you how to do a corner to corner chart. This is my Nordic Star corner to corner Afghan for this crochet along that I'm doing. The finished product is going to look something like this. I will be using different yarn. This was just a mock-up that I did. And as you can tell, it's a slightly different because now I have this red border around it. So this will be a series of videos on how I created that design. I will teach you how to create bobbins on these clips. I'll teach you how to read this chart, how to increase your rows, and how to do the decrease rows. And then we'll do a simple border around the corner to corner square, as well as joining together with another square. And this way you can learn how to make anything corner to corner. The yarn that I am using is this Swish worsted weight. This is in Serrano, this is in white. These are both by We Crochet or Knit Picks yarn. It's 100% fine superwash merino wool. It's marine wash on cold and tumble dry low. Each of these is 50 grams or 110 yards. This yarn is super, super soft. I am new to this yarn and so far I love it. The center pole was easy to find. This one was a little bit harder, but not that bad. I've seen worse yarn vomit than that. It is a thin worsted weight. You know, there are some thicker and some thinner worsted weight. This is a thinner worsted weight yarn. Probably similar to the Caron Simply Soft. But I'm really excited to work with this. I hope to do a review video when I'm finished. But definitely compared to the Wool of the Andes by Knit Picks, this Swish is just luxe. It is super soft, and I'm really excited to make this Christmas blanket using this yarn. This yarn was sponsored by We Crochet. They gave me the yarn for this project. The hook that I'm using is an H hook, a 5mm. This one is by Furls Crochet. This is their nickel, their Odyssey. This is an H. This is an H hook. You can choose any yarn and any hook to do your corner to corner project. The size of your finished product will differ based on your tension, your hook size, your yarn. I will link a calculator below. That's by Stardust Gold Crochet. So the calculator will be, you make up a swatch and then measure it, and depending on the size, it will calculate the size of your finished square, your finished blanket. And that way you can determine how big is your blanket going to be, which size hook should you use if you want to make your blanket bigger or smaller. To create any corner to corner project, you're going to be working diagonally, and you will see you'll have different sections of color. And instead of cutting your yarn each time, it's good to carry your yarn as much as you can, but you will see that it doesn't make sense a lot of times to carry your yarn all the way through. So you will want to make some cuts, and I think best practice is to make bobbins. And so you would make a bobbin, and each section would have its own little section of yarn. So to create a bobbin, I just use these basic clothespins, and I get a nice big section of yarn. So I just am wrapping this around itself. And I'm going to keep wrapping until I get a nice big section so I don't have to do so many cuts. So I'm going to create a big bobbin. Okay, let's say that's big enough. You just really have to estimate. Okay, then you just make a few of these because you're going to be doing a few different sections of each color. So just make a few bobbins of each color. Okay, as you can see, I made like 4 of each of these bobbins. It's okay if you didn't make enough at the beginning. You can always make more later. You can always, if you run out of one bobbin, you can always rewind it and add more yarn to it. The nice thing about using these is it's just nice and compact. And then when you are finished and you're no longer using the yarn on there, you can just attach it to the section of the project you're working on. And I'll show that more as I make my square. Isn't that neat? I'm going to teach you how to read a chart for a corner-to-corner design. If you have never done corner-to-corner or have never read a chart for a project, this video will be very helpful for you. So typically, when reading a chart for a corner-to-corner design, you're going to start down here in the lower right-hand corner in this box. And each row is labeled on the side or on the bottom. So row 1 is just 1 square here. Row 2 are these 2 squares. Row 3 are these 3 squares. Row 4, and so on. In each row, you're going to be increasing and adding a square as you go. As you know, row 1 has 1, row 2 has 2, row 3 has 3. So you're always adding. Down here, you're adding, you're increasing, and these are your increase rows as well. Okay, when you get to the top here or the side here, you're going to start decreasing. Okay, this will all make sense as we go along. So this pattern is my Nordic Star corner to corner for this crochet along that I'm doing, and there's other designs that I will link below as well. So on these rows, like I said, we're increasing, we're adding a square. Then up here, these rows, we're going to start decreasing, where these rows are going to get smaller, where we're going to end row 49 with just 1 square. In order to mark off which row that you're on, it's important to cross it off. Row 1, I'm going to be going up like this in this direction. So I'm going to make an arrow in that direction saying that's how far we went. So in order to do that, we're going to do this one in red. So I'm going to make my slip knot and insert my hook. For this project, I'm doing a half double crochet corner to corner. And to do that, for each increase, I'm going to chain 5. Okay, then I'm going to yarn over, and in the third chain from the hook, I'm going to do a half double crochet, and then in the next 2 chains, I'm going to do a half double crochet. So row 1 looks like this. You have this chain 3 space and 3 half double crochets. This chain 2 space and 3 half double crochets. Okay, so to do row 2, we went up like that. So row 2 is going to be down in this direction. Okay, see my arrows going down that way. Row 2. So these are both going to be red squares as well. So to do our increase, because it's an increase row, we're going to chain 5, yarn over, and in the third chain from the hook, you're going to do a half double crochet, and then in each of these next 2 chains, I'm going to do a half double crochet. Okay, so you have this chain 2 space and 3 half double crochets. I'm going to flip this first square up so that this chain 2 space aligns. Insert your hook into that chain 2 space, slip stitch to join. Now for our second square of that second row, I'm going to chain 2 in normal double crochet corner to corner. You would chain 3, but this I'm just going to chain 2, yarn over, and in that chain 2 space I'm going to do 3 half double crochets. Oops, somewhere I messed that up. Okay, in that chain 2 space I'm going to do 3 half double crochets. Okay, and that is row 2. Choo-choo-choo. Okay, this is the chart. This is row 1, row 2 as we went down that way. Look at my paper. Okay, row 1, we just did row 2. So row 3 is another increase. Okay, and we're going to go up in this direction. Okay. Here we're going to have our first color change. Our first square is going to be red, then we're going to change to white, and then to red here. Remember, first color change. In row 3 we're going to have 3 squares. So I should have been using a bobbin here, but here I'm going to add my first bobbin, and we'll just have that ready. So we're going to do an increase here. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in the third chain, we're going to do a half double crochet. And in the next 2 chains, a half double crochet. So for each increase, we're chaining 5 and doing 3 half double crochets. And for every normal square, we're chaining 2 and doing 3 half double crochets. Okay, normally I would flip this up and do this, but since we're doing a color change, actually, we're going to rewind, and on the last half double crochet, before I do my last yarn over, I'm going to drop that yarn, pick up my white, and pull through to finish that off. We want to leave a little tail there. We're going to take our red, kind of pull that tight. Okay, so now I changed color before I finished off that square. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to carry this red through. Since I'm just going to use it over here for my third stitch, I'm going to carry it through. I like to carry my yarn through whenever they're whenever the colors are touching. I won't want to carry it through. See this big section here where all this red is? I don't want to carry the white all the way through there because then it just looks a little bit messy. But since these ones are just so close together, I'm going to carry my yarn through. So in order to do that, I'm going to kind of hide this red yarn here. And in this chain 2 space, I'm going to insert. You see I'm kind of hugging that red yarn between. Grab the white and do your slip stitch to join. And there's our red nicely tucked in there. So for our white square, we're going to chain 2 and do 3 half double crochets in that chain 2 space. Okay, before I'm not going to yarn over on this last half double crochet. I'm not going to yarn over the white. I'm just going to drop that behind, pick up my red, and pull through. There are lots of different ways to do this color change. If you have a better way, please comment below, share me a video, tell me what you do. Okay, then to finish off that square, I'm going to find that chain 2 space and do a slip stitch to join. Chain 2. Because we've already done our increase, this is just our third square. There we go. Okay, so we just did like this. Now you see I left my tails kind of on the right side. I should have put my tails over here on the wrong side so that the right side looks a little prettier. Okay, so we just did row 3, and next we're going to do row 4. Okay, we're just going to continue on like this, where we're going to do our start off with an increase and then finish off our rows doing the color change just like we did. Then once we get up to the corner up here, we're going to start to do our decrease. Okay, and in the written instructions it'll say corner, so you know when to start doing your decrease. But here you're just going to increase and then decrease down while doing the chart. Okay. I didn't show this before, but since I'm using my bobbin here, in order to not get tangled up, when I am finished using the color from my bobbin, I can just clip it right there so my yarn isn't getting tangled up, and it will be ready for me to pick up when I come through. Okay? It's kind of hard to see when this is so small, but we'll continue on. Row 4, we're going to chain 5, 5, and in the third chain do half double crochet, next chain half double crochet, and in the next chain half double crochet. Before I do that, before I yarn over and complete, I'm going to grab my white yarn. Okay. And finish. Here would be an example where I don't really want to carry my yarn because that might make a mess right here. So I'm just going to drop my yarn on the wrong side, my red yarn on the wrong side, and I'll do another bobbin once I get over to this side. So drop that red, and in this first square from the previous row, I'm going to slip stitch to join, chain 2, 3 half double crochets, okay. So we've done these first two. I'm going to do a white one and a red one to finish off. We're going down in that direction. You find that chain 2 space, slip stitch to join, chain 2, half double crochet, okay. Before I finish that off, I'm going to drop my white yarn, grab a new bobbin, and connect that on the wrong side and finish off. You know, a way to help with ends is you can weave in as you go. To do that, I'm going to take my end and slide it behind, and in that chain 2 space, I'm just going to hug it like I would if I was changing colors or carrying colors. Slip stitch to join, chain 2, and then I'm going to work my ends together. Weave in as I go. That way at the end I don't have a big sloppy mess. I tend to forget to do this step, so I usually end up with a lot of ends. Like here, I hide them on my back side. I look at all that I have to weave in. But if you do it this way, you won't have as many ends to weave in at the end. Okay, so we just finished row 4. And here, since I have this bobbin, I'm not using this white anymore, so I'm going to clip it here. That'll help with the ends so they don't get tangled. Okay, row 5. I'm going to start here and work my way up. Okay. Keep track of which side's your right side and your wrong side so that you can leave your ends on the wrong side so it looks pretty and you can weave those in later. So I'm going to do a white, or a red, a white, a red, a white, a red, every other. And I'm going to start a new bobbin here for this little design. Okay. Chain 5. I'm going to turn this and a half double crochet in the third chain. Bobbins do make the project a little heavier, so watch your tension. Okay, I'm going to change color. Now my wrong side is over in the front. I'm going to bring that to the front, grab my white, grab it and pull through. You see how my white that I pulled through is now reaching up over? I'm just going to crochet over that to kind of hide that. Okay, chain 2. If this is your first corner to corner project, it's a little bit complicated, hey? So you may want to choose a different project because there's a lot of color change. I will link a video to a regular double crochet corner to corner tutorial if you want to check that out instead. Okay, I'm going to grab another red bobbin. Before I do that, and so I don't get tangled up, I'm just going to clip that here. Grab my other bobbin to do my red square here. I just want my border to have their own bobbins, and then this number will have its own. And it might get complicated here where I have multiple bobbins going on, but better than getting your yarn all tangled up and doing a lot of different cuts. Okay, this is my wrong side, remember, so I'm going to leave my tail over on that side and pull through. Because there's white touching here, I am gonna bring the white through and not add another bobbin yet. But I am gonna weave this tail in as I go. So since I'm carrying my white through, I'm gonna bring my white and lay it kind of flat against where I'm working, and also my tail, so I don't have to weave that in later. Go through that chain 2 space and kind of hug that yarn through. Okay, with these chains I'm going to work my ends. Chain 2, then 3 half double crochets in that chain 2 space. Okay, forgot before that last yarn over, I'm switching back to white. Bobbin fell off my little table. Oops, my yarn fell off my little table and I hit my phone down, so pardon me as I put myself back together again. Okay, so before I finish that last one, I'm going to bring this yarn to the wrong side, pick up my white, and finish. And kind of pull that tight. Slip stitch to that to continue. Chain 2, and 3 half double crochets. Before I finish this last one, see, I'm already getting tangled up. I need to use my bobbins a little bit better. Pick up this and finish that off. In that chain 2 space. Finish off your row. Ta-da! If I was doing my bobbins correctly, I would make sure everything's nice and neat. I'm not a very neat crocheter. I usually end up in knots. Does anybody else do that? Anybody else end up in knots like I do? Here we go. Okay, we just ended row 5, which is going up like so. Now row 6, we're going down. Okay, doesn't that look nice? So we're just going to continue like that through the whole pattern. And then up at the top, I'll teach you how to decrease. But that is how you read a chart. Okay? It's good to cross it off as you go so you remember which row you're on without having to count. But if you do misplace, you can just count all of your squares, and you know that row 6 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, and row 7 will have 7, row 8 will have 8. So if you misplace where you are, you can just count the rows or just figure out what your pattern looks like and go from there. This is how I have my bobbins so that they don't get tangled up, so my yarn ends don't get tangled up. If you have a way to do it that's better than what I'm doing, please leave a comment, share a video with me so I know what you're doing. Okay, I always want to learn more because I'm still learning as a crocheter. Okay, so I have just completed row 25 of this Nordic Star corner to corner square. That is the last row of my increase. These are my increase rows. I just finished row 25. So now I'm ready for row 26, which is now a decrease rows. And all these rows are going to be decrease rows. So decrease rows are worked up a little bit different than the increase rows. For the decrease rows, we are going to just omit the chain 5 at the beginning. So to increase, we do the chain 5 and then the 3 half double crochets in the chains. But instead, what we need to do is just do a block right here. We're not going to increase, we're actually going to start decreasing rows. So in order to do that, I need to get my yarn from this corner and I need to get it over here. Maybe you hear my son, he's screaming for me. My husband's supposed to help. Okay, so I need to get from here all the way to over here, and how I'm going to do that is slip stitch. I'm going to do 4 slip stitches. 1 slip stitch in each of these 3 half double crochets, and then 1 in my turning chain. Okay? So I'm going to just do a slip knot, slip stitch. I'm doing slip stitches, not slip knots. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 in my turning chain here. Okay, so now that I've made it to the other side of my square, my tile, I'm ready to start doing row 26. Okay, so to decrease, you do your 4 slip stitches here, and then you just start the next row. And instead of chaining 5, you're just going to chain 2 and do your 3 half double crochets in the turning chains. Okay? So for decrease rows, you're not doing the increases, you're not chaining 5, you're doing those slip stitches to get to the other side of your square, and then just doing a square, not doing an increase, okay? Does that make any sense? Now I'm just going to continue on row 26. And I'm going to be doing the decrease all the way until the end. All right, so I'll see you at the end. Now that I am finished with my corner to corner Afghan square, what I'm going to do is crochet a simple single crochet border around the whole thing. And how I'm going to do that is in each pixel I'm going to crochet 2 single crochets. Just 2 single crochets per pixel. So in this square there's 25 rows, 25 pixels, so on this row there will be 50 single crochets. So in these chain 2 spaces, I'm going to do 2 single crochets, and then each of these that have the half double crochet, you can kind of see there's room for 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm just going to start, and then I'm not going to do a single crochet between the spaces. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to go start in this chain 2 space. I'm just going to do a slip stitch to start. Okay, where's my end to pull tight? Okay, I'm going to do 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then in the next pixel, just going to do 2, 1 in each of those half double crochets, in this chain 2 space of the next pixel. In the next pixel there's 2 half double crochet spaces. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each of them, and just do that all the way around. And I'll show you what I'm going to do in each corner. Okay, so when I get to this last pixel in the corner, I'm going to do my 2 single crochets, and then I'm going to chain 1, kind of turn the corner. So I did a single crochet in each of these half double crochets, and I chained 1, and I'm going to turn, and then in this chain space I'm going to do my 2 single crochets. And then continue on, making sure to do only 2 single crochets per pixel. When you get to the bottom of your work, like this is my square and this would be the bottom row. When you get to the bottom, it's going to look a little bit different because instead of your chain 2 space being on this side, it's going to be on this side. So you just have to work 2 single crochets in that last half double crochet. Oops, I got some red in there. So this one's just going to look a little bit different. If you're each side is just going to look a little bit different. You continue doing the same thing. Just work 2 single crochets per pixel. And then slip stitch to the beginning and fasten it off. Then we can easily connect our squares together.